I'm at the Howard County Conservatory. This is Tabby. She has been amazing. I just met her and I just bumped into her, and I have to go soon because I've got to go to work. But Tabby, my question was, you mentioned a late spring with the frogs.
We did. So we normally see tadpoles. We normally get wood frogs in our man-made Honors Garden pond, which is not a very big pond, in March. And their tadpoles are usually born in early April, and then in April we collect them all and we take them to our stream. We had none for Earth Day.
Interesting.
Which our Earth Day celebration this year was on April 23rd, and we had no tadpoles to release.
So just
But
an
a
assisted...
couple days later, we actually have tadpoles now. So we think that they were very late this year. We normally have frog and toad tadpoles. Toads lay their eggs later, but we think everything was a little bit later this year.
It's the reason why I ask is because I'm also very interested in the climate.
Okay.
And it's a big gnarled ball of wax in my opinion, and right now you're gonna get different answers from everybody. What I go by mostly, I check data, I read a lot of stuff, but I also am a real finger to the wind kind of guy.
Yeah.
I noticed this spring a couple unusual things. I noticed that I felt that spring was coming late too, and I was judging by the bloom in the woods because that's my best gauge.
Right.
Or when the first the shrubs on the ground, the little yellow buttercups, and the
Sure.
first buds come out. I noticed they were quite late, and this surprised me because temperature-wise, we seem to warm. Now it's been a really, you know, it's been like this for years now.
Yes,
the last year or so has been extremely erratic and just up and down. But it seemed to have kind of, the temperatures seemed to kind of broken early. And I also know that up north in upstate New York and you know, like the eastern lakes thawed a bit early. And I even read stories about a couple floods or so, you know, maybe Pennsylvania or New England because of the early floods. So I'm taking all this into consideration, and we have some dueling
We do. So
things going on.
We had a very mild winter, obviously, but we had late frosts. So we
and some bad cold snaps.
And some bad cold snaps. So we heard our frogs for like 2 days. And the wood frogs showed up in our pond for a day. But we had a cold snap, and they stopped procreating.
So they just kind of go on pause, is what they do?
Pause.
Because
Yes,
it seems like,
yes.
I mean, I'm not a wild, I'm a lover of all things, okay? So, I mean, as far as biology goes, I understand, you know, certainly many insects and hardy animals can do the same, but it seems like, and it may be somewhat uncharted territory.
It does.
But
it does.
with some species, it seems like, because our knowledge of a lot of these things only goes back 100, 150 years or so, right? Like, I'm just going by the climate.
Sure.
But it seems like that the other animals may be a lot more resilient than we know. They may just go into different patterns, longer hibernations.
They
Maybe
are.
the same thing with flowers.
In 2020, we had a late frost as well. And like a lot of our young oaks, they had leafed out already, and their oak leaves died. But they were able to recuperate. In 2021, we had the cicadas, which
was a big
were
boon.
very
I
hard
was
on the oak trees.
Oh, on the oak, yes, it's true.
Especially, and everything else. But things.
But
are
later on,
really
they kind of
resilient.
feed back,
Like,
and
yeah, like our chickens love eating. So,
I know it was a
yeah.
big boon to the shrubs, of course, and all the
Right.
underbrush and everything. And
Our winter berries are late this year. Our tadpoles are late, not only in our Honors Garden pond, our man-made pond, but also in the streams.
So almost everything
that
has
we
been
normally
late.
have. A lot of things have been late, so much so that I'm like, oh, are they gonna
Are they-
leave out?
yeah,
Are
it
they
makes you
gonna do
nervous.
It makes me nervous, it does.
Because-
But everything is coming back pretty well. We did have a couple years. 2018 was very wet, 2019 was very dry, and so we did have things perish in 2019 and early 2020 just because of that wet/dry year.
you're a PhDer, are you not?
Yes. So
I love this stuff. I just love this stuff, and I can tell you do too. And you're not just an assistant junior something or other. I got you, Tabby. I got you.
I've been here a long time, and I've seen a lot of changes.
It's great.
I've been here, 15 springs and summers, and
Oh,
seen
outstanding.
everything that's going on. Our spring was a little bit late, especially for those ephemerals that are growing up in the woodlands before leaf out. But they were that late, not as late as like our amphibians were, not as late as some of our shrubs were. So it really depends on the species as to the hardiness of it, as to when it's going to actually leaf out. But yes, in general, things were a little bit late this year. I worked with my photographers who come on our site, and they're like, yes, it's late everywhere. And I'm like, okay, cool, keep your cool.
We'll be back. Just give us a text, give us a page.
Even our black walnuts were late this year, like leafing out, and those aren't something you would worry about, but they're a very important food source for squirrels and things like that.
Right.
You wouldn't normally think as starving this time of year, but
Right.
I think with that late leaf out, there's potential that we might have a late fruiting with some of these plants, and we might see some of those animals struggling to survive, even when they have that ultimate, like, we know it's going to happen kind of plant. It might happen a little bit later than normal.
It's so intimate and connected, and people understand that on one, on a kind of top layer, but they don't understand. It's a real chain of events, and if something, so basically, one of the stories of this lesson is when something goes on hold, everything gets backed up, and that goes on hold too.
It does. It does. The comfort that I take is that our milkweed, which is right here, our milkweed is the host plant of the monarch butterfly, and monarchs obviously have been suffering over the years due to many different
That's my
things.
mom's top favorite ever.
Love monarchs. Oh my goodness, I do too. I'll teach about them. But our milkweed is really good. Our flowers are really strong right now. Some of the things that we have blooming right now are really going to encourage those like early pollinators to the area. So I think we're doing good now. It was just a little bit of a slow start to the year.
Right. We'll see. I'm sure things will well, again, I'm sure most things will rebound. It's interesting. I know some species of plants, animals, and flowers can't always take really bad snaps, but
not all of them.
It's surprising to me that it seems like more animals, plants, and flowers are just more adaptable than we knew.
They're resilient. They absolutely are. And
that's not to say let's just
my nerves allow them to. Like, oh my gosh, are you gonna be
right?
okay? But
it's not to say let's abuse the habitat and let's ignore.
Right.
I'm just saying that when put to the test, it seems like a lot of species are more resilient than we understood.
They do. They are. They absolutely are. We've had a really nice wet spring. We've had a
we have.
wet time of year right now. So everything is doing really well. As long as we have a wet summer, everything should bounce back just fine. The only things that we've had perish in the last couple of years were non-natives that were planted, this is a historic farm, so they were planted 50, 100 years ago when this was a farm property. So I think a lot of the things that we've seen suffer ornamental and don't naturally grow here. They're not used to
it's Mother Nature. You're trying to make a point.
Exactly. So everything I think that has been native has done a really great job. I'm a little bit nervous about those young oak trees.
Yeah.
But they've been able to bounce back. Maybe they didn't bring all of their limbs with them into the new year, but
might lose. Right.
They've been able to bounce back, and so I think it's a hopeful spring and a hopeful summer, and we're just expecting good weather for the rest of the year. So fingers crossed.
It seems good. It seems like we're on a good track lately.
It does.
And I, unlike most people, do not mind quite a bit of nice light rain.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's actually
hate the downpours,
so helpful.
but we like the nice light rain.
We like the nice rain. I know.
Yeah.
Light rain is great.
The whole past week.
Is like, ugh.
Yeah, the whole past week, every day I go, I'm like, oh, am I gonna make it to the trail? But I'm happy for the forest and the plants.
Exactly, which is always a good thing.
And the trail will be there.
And the trail will be there. The only thing, if we have a heavy storm, I looked after our champion trees, which are, big trees that deserve our attention sometimes during those bad weather conditions.
Oh, well, the place appreciates it. I appreciate you, Tabby. It's been great to meet you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.